Hey everyone, I'm King of Valence. Welcome to a Spore Speedrun. This is the full game on normal, completed in 45 minutes and 46 seconds. I'm going to start as a carnivore today. Yeah, it's kind of up to you. Sometimes there's more meat, sometimes there's more green to start. And just kind of your preference or just kind of how the RNG plays through the day. Now I really wanted to give normal a fair shake. Sometimes normal, it's not played as much because easy is the fastest, hard's the hardest. Normal's this weird middle ground that no one really cares about, but I wanted to give normal a fair shake, and hopefully this run and this commentary can give you the insights and at least how I do it, and show you the general strategies that the whole Spore community has developed to complete this game so quickly. So in the first section, you leave the hints on so you can keep the 5 meat or the 5 plants like normal. It's just kind of the same as hard difficulty. It's all kind of the same, at least for this first section. You definitely want to get the spike for normal and hard. We're going to be going for some cell kills, and that's the best way to do it. You always call the mate right as you grow, so the mate's close and nearby. And you just kind of hope for RNGs that there's some plants nearby, some meat nearby, so you don't have to kind of interact with any cells in this first section. Just kind of don't make too many sharp turns for the cell. It doesn't really like to turn when you don't have the cilia on yet. So kind of turn like a truck so the cell can kind of work around the slow turns. We want to make sure we get a jet, at least in this section. You can kind of go up really close to them so when they turn you're like kind of behind their mouths so you can keep biting them over and over. It sometimes works, yeah, gotta give it a try. And then you just gotta cells a bit of hoping that you get some good plants right away. This is actually going pretty smoothly for normal difficulty. You get bigger and there's just more plants to get. It's perfect. Also these cilia, you guys with the cilia, you want to try to get one of those. You want the jet, you want the cilia, you want the spike, you want all the parts. At least for those parts. I think that might actually be good. We'll be putting those on in a little bit. Those cost about 15 DNA. We recall once we start seeing this gravy train stop, but we keep seeing plants, so it's better just to keep eating, keep going if there's food available. I see another one in the bottom right, so I'm like, yep, that one's kind of occupied. I'm willing to just keep going, because if you call the mate for the cell and then you add your more parts, you might get really unlucky that there's nothing nearby, so just keep going until there's kind of everything runs out, then you can call it. That was kind of a really good streak, so I'm seeing I'm like in the kind of a late stage for really having nothing on, so I'm just going to give it a call, but I'm going to try to get some more meat on the way. Hopefully this cell doesn't... It looks like I got that right in time. So got the spike because we're going to do some fights, and we're going to put the cilia on. We want to at least like 2 mobility parts. We can either have like 2 of the 3, kind of the cilia, the flagella, or or jet. We want to have 2 of those on. That way, once we get into creature stage, we have all of the other movement parts available once we get into the cell editor again, the creature editor. If you have we have the cilia and the flagella, we will for sure have all the hands and all the feet. And you have to make sure you have those on before you exit like the 2D cell stage. Once you get into the 3-dimensional editor, that doesn't really matter. Once you do, anything you do in there doesn't really affect creature stage. So we make sure you don't get hurt. We're actually going pretty quick. Just look for the plants that are independent, like by themselves, give more progress in DNA than plants that are kind of part of those big buffets. So let's kind of prioritize those. I should be getting this one on the left before heading to the buffet. I try to push the buffet towards the other one while eating, so I don't have to travel as far. Just little optimizations that might save a second or two, but not too big of a worry. Going quite speedy. The moths are pretty good on normal. On hard, I'd say avoid them because the eggs can make the juniors, which you see eating me there, pretty hard. The moths are pretty good if you have the spike, or the mega mouths in the moths. And then we're done. So we're going to make legs into legs and arms by taking away a joint. You can hold control to take it away. I'm also going to put the jet on. It's not important for what I was talking about for making sure you have all the parts, but it's good for sprinting it out of the gate, so you can go to the first couple of nests pretty quickly. So again, we have the load remover that will pause the timer automatically during most loads. Anytime like the game kind of looks like it's freezing, it'll pause the timer. So hopefully we will be omnivore out of creature stage. You can see that by our type of diet in the right corner, and we also have the summon pack. Now I should be using summon pack here. That would make this go a little faster, but I wasn't quite paying attention. Don't worry, I did see that black frame. I'm not sure what that's from the recording or the rendering. I'm not sure, but you're not going crazy. I saw that too. So if you had the summon pack, you would be gaining more creatures, and you'd be able to do the socialization part a little faster. But the general goal for this area is to socialize the first 2 nests. That's the same on all difficulties, no matter what you're doing. But at least for full game, you get that summon pack that makes this go a little faster. And you actually get more DNA. If you way over impress the other creatures, you actually get a DNA bonus. I didn't actually realize that until after I did this run, but of course before now, so yeah, there's improvements here and there, but going for a casual run, going for a casual commentary, just to, give a good time for normal. Of course, we should know that instant mating trick by now. If you're looking away, call the mate. You select the mate and then jump while your creature is turning. That somehow cancels the animation, and then you get that instant mating trick. We're going straight fighting on normal, same as hard. Easy might have a different way of doing this next part, but we're going level 2, bite, strike, charge, and spit with the wings. That's everything we want in this first section, and we're going to call our packmate so they can help us in level 2 of creature stage. I'm designating the level names by the the block sections of the progress bar, so we're in the level 2 section. I always like this trick. So if you pause, you click on something, and then you double tap space for jump, and then you unpause, you will launch your creature way over the top. So I still should be calling the summon pack here. I was a little worried that the summon pack, it's on a limited timer. I was worried it wouldn't last long enough for me to complete what I'm trying to do in level 2. But it actually lasts a pretty long time, so you probably could call it now. I know these fights are a bit loud, so I'm going to lower the volume for creature stage. So all these creature fights aren't blasting your ears, or at least overpowering the commentary. And I was thinking to save the summon pack in case I was actually dying, and I can use them as a distraction in case I got to my 3rd nest and I didn't have enough time to heal. But these creatures are pretty easy on normal. So that first pack was upset, where they were kind of orange angry. They give a 30 DNA bonus, but these ones are neutral. They only give a 25 DNA bonus for fighting. If you were socializing with them, it would be reversed. They give the slight bonus for the preference of the creature. That's because it's a little hard to do it that way. So these creatures and these next creatures, they're neutral, so they prefer to socialize. See on the top right, they want 4 social over 3 fighting. So the game values it as harder to socialize with them, so they give you more DNA if you actually do it the way they prefer it. So I'm trying to send my crew over. I want to make sure you don't use I use the arrow keys to move, so that's why I'm not using the mouse to move. But if you use the arrow keys to move off of your target, the rest of your creatures will kind of forget what they're doing and follow you instead of attacking. So I had to make sure I stayed selected on the creature I'm attacking and spit at them so everyone else charges as well. So that's why it looks like I'm standing around, because I'm waiting for the spit to charge up. So sometimes those launches give more launch power than others, but at least it's faster than walking for sure. So even though I'm on to level 3, it's all timed out, so I make sure I get enough alphas, because I need to make sure I have upgraded all the parts. I need to make sure I have upgraded mouth, feet, hands, and spit to the level 3 parts. And you have to defeat alphas or collect parts in the level 2 to upgrade level 3. It always gives you the parts you have on as a priority. Like here we have level 3 hands, level 2, or the next level hands, feet, mouth, and spit. And then if you kill too many alphas, it will start just giving you your random parts. But you kill the minimum amount of alphas you need to get the parts you want. But we killed enough creatures to get us into the next section earlier than I thought, so made sure to kill one more just in case. So I'm scoping around for some easy kills. So see, these people I would still call on level 2. Yet, they are still worth killing because they are upset, so they're angry at us. So they keep their DNA like bonus. If normally if you find a lower level creature, they're worth like practically nothing. But staying angry, but if they were angry before you met them, like these guys are also angry, they stay kinda on your level at all times. And I'm killing them not for the parts, because they're easy kills and easy bonus points. Because 30 DNA for killing 4 creatures at this stage is very, very helpful. You probably also could be using the summon pack here, but I figured that these guys are super easy kills and I don't need the help, and this section takes longer than the last one, so I'm really worried that the summon pack won't last long enough. So now that I have a pretty good DNA amount, I still need to kill creatures and alphas on my level to make sure I get those upgraded parts. It's easier just to kill the alphas to get the next parts. It's not quite worth it to go around collecting parts off the ground. At least that's what I found so far. All routes can change. How I was going for it was I was prioritizing alphas, and this one's an alpha, so we see what we get here. Yeah, we got the next level mouth. And I do call it the summon pack now because I'm a little worried. These guys are angry at our level, so they are worth more points. It's worth 40 points. 40 DNA over 30, which means they're very aggressive and harder to kill. So I'm also keeping track of, there's another alpha, of what parts we get. So I'm going to make sure we get at least the strike and the feet. I'd say those are the highest priorities. Get the hands and feet, because feet is very good for movement. You need that in tribal stage. If you're stuck with, the level 2, like the beginner feet, level 2 speed, tribal stage you'll lose like minutes because you're walking so slow. The speed actually really matters. So there is a neutral nest at our level. So they give 30 DNA as a reward for extincting them. Last ones give 40. The asteroid is coming down, that's why everyone's freaking out. Good thing our pack and our summon flock does not actually care about the asteroid, so we can still fight. This would be like an ideal time to take down angry level 3 creatures as well. And my summon flock was just in a big train and not really helping, so sometimes the summon flock can really speed things up, sometimes they just like to travel around with you. Like that time, I'm trying to send them to charge at them. Only one actually charged. So we're gonna get this last guy, get the extinction bonus. On easy, there is a glitch to have the summon flock basically summon a copy of your creature. I didn't know how to do it back when I was doing this run, but I'll probably start doing that now. It's very helpful. I'm sure you've seen it if you watched the easy full game record. It helps speed fights up way more than I actually really considered. But on normal, I'm just kind of going for a completion right now. You kind of see there's some room for some more optimization, so if anyone's out there is wanting to give it a go, I really encourage you. It's really fun to kind of mess around with some Spore, do some speedruns. Here I am asymmetrically taking off hands and feet to put on socialization tools, or socialization parts. This is in case I find a rogue. It's really easy to socialize with a rogue for that 100-point bonus. It's much easier than fighting them, because you have like a pack of 3 others, which can help socialize. If you have level 2 dance, but all 4 of you have socialize dance 2, that stacks to 8 dance, which the rogue by itself only has up to 5, so you'll always win, even if you have really low socialization skill. Here I forgot to add the charm from the details, so I did lose some time, because it wouldn't enter the meeting sequence. But no worries, I'm not scraping out every second here. This was still such an improvement over the previous time that I was Not too worried about losing little bits of time here and there. Here I do summon the summon flock as soon as I can, because I noticed that I didn't trigger the migration sequence, so I know I'm going to have to mate again, and every time you leave the mate, every time you leave the editor, the summon flock ability will refresh, so I can use the summon flock here without worry that it will run out of time. I'm not sure how long it lasts, maybe like a minute. So I'm going for kills here. I'm looking for... These guys are easier because they are neutral, so they prefer socialization, so they're easier to kill. They give the same amount of points per creature killed, no matter if they're angry or neutral. It's only that DNA bonus for the extinction that matters. So they give 40 for an extinction bonus, you get right here, 40. If they were angry, they would get 70, so that's 30-point difference, which is a bit, but angry creatures at level 4 are typically much more aggressive and likely kill you on hard and normal. So it's easier to pick fights with neutral creatures. See, they're all cowering because they really don't know how to fight. Until, you know, you swarm them and then they have no choice. And I prefer to fight these creatures. You only lose 30 DNA. For the chance of your one not dying. Yeah, we're getting those big parts. You got level 5 charge, got the level 5 strike, which we'll be putting on for the final segment. Once we're done with this nest, we'll go back to the mate, we'll trigger the migration sequence, and then we'll fight maybe one more nest on our way to the end of the stage. There's that floating egg on the left. So I'm going to try to do the launch. Sometimes it doesn't work super well, but it's still faster than walking. Again, you pause, you select something you can interact with, like another creature, a dead creature. If you're a carnivore, because you can eat the creature, so you can interact with them. And then you double tap space, then you unpause, and you should kind of launch over the top of them. So here, I was about to mate, but I decided to, if you hit a number to start the socialization instead, they'll forget that they want to mate, and then they will be part of your pack. Because I only had one pack, and once I trigger the migration sequence, there's only one more creature in my nest. No more will spawn, so I would only have a maximum of 2 pack members. But now I have this third member to try to add to my pack. But unfortunately, the spaceship just arrived, so I couldn't add that third member to my pack. And I gave up because there's no way they're gonna socialize with the ship. It's only the people in your pack that are unfazed by asteroids and spaceships. So I should have maybe done that third pack member before mating. You can just hit backspace and it'll call another mate for you. And then as soon as they're selected, oh, there goes that guy, you can socialize with them and then call another mate. So I could have just kept summoning creatures over and over as long as that is your main nest. Now that I'm triggering the migration sequence, your next mate has to be at your migration nest. So I wouldn't be able to summon any more creatures. So these guys are angry at level 4, which is a bit scary, but since the spaceship is here, it basically neutralizes them, and their health is the same, so I'm not really worried about dying to these guys. So I'm going for the extinction bonus right here, so I'm going to kill babies. Babies are only worth 2 points, 2 DNA, so it's really not worth it to kill them on purpose, but I'm going for that 7 out of 7 because that should be enough to finish the stage, which it is. But we can't complete creature stage just yet. We have to make sure we get to our next migration. Not for the DNA, but we make sure we have that as our home nest, because that's very important for tribal stage and civilization stage. You have to make sure you're on the coastline, or that can make civilization stage especially really slow and tribal stage pretty slow. Because if your tribe is on the coastline, that kind of eliminates half the area of where tribes can spawn. Since you're on the coastline, they can only spawn on one side of you where the land is. And kind of same idea with Civ, you can have Water Nation where you can send boats out to collect the spice geysers in the water. If you don't get that coastline for Civ, you lose a lot of money and a lot of time from not being able to collect spice geysers in the water. So as soon as we got to the migration sequence, we could finish, and I already had the best feat. Feat is all I'm really worried about for tribal stage, because that determines how fast we walk. And everything else, we're just going to gather for food. We're not going to hunt anymore. So in the editor, we're going to add level 3 social and level 3 gathering. The level 3 gathering adds 3 more food that the creatures can gather at a time, so we can gather 8 at a time. And the social speeds up how much of the socialization bar when your traveling band is performing for the other tribes. That can go up to 5 on each of those. So this is kind of the part where after creature stage is kind of like a high stress stage, and now you can kind of take a breather in tribal stage. It kind of looks like we're doing nothing, but we're really just beginning of RTSing, and we're just kind of gathering resources. Babies are on a timer, so you want to get those as soon as possible. As soon as you have enough, you buy the next one. And you also good to know that the tribal chieftain can gather much faster than the other tribal members can. So I like to send the tribal chieftain to the nearest plants to help get the plants super fast. Sometimes you have to micromanage your characters because they kind of block each other. After a certain amount of time, the first tribe will spawn, but they should be neutral on normal, so I'm not rushing to get them right now. It's more important to fill out your tribe because that's on the longest timer, and then you can buy the first instrument because you can do that as the babies are ready to go. That way, if you buy the wood horns first, you then have to collect more money to get the babies, and then you have to wait for the 45-second timers. I think it's 45 seconds for those eggs for the babies to grow up. So if you do the babies first, you can gather food for your wooden horns while your babies are waiting to grow up. So it's kind of good doing 2 things at once. So I've kind of used the babies growing up as kind of a timer. It is on a timer, but I use it as a timer to fill out the sequence, as that's a good time to now send the band to the first tribe. And now that the babies are ready to go, they can now gather. Actually, I'm going to leave one tribe member back at my home base, so they can protect it from wild animals coming to steal your food. And the other 2 can gather just fine. So on normal, it only takes 2 tribe members for this 6 out of 6 level 1 tribe. There's like 3 types of tribes. There's 6 out of 6, there's 9 out of 9, and 12 out of 12 types of tribes. The 9 out of 9s would take 3 of each instrument, and the 12 out of 12 can take up to 4 of each instrument, but we don't have that many, and it won't matter that much on normal. So it's only wooden horns here, so they can only ask for what you have. So they only have wooden horns. So I just kind of spammed the 1 button, waiting for those wooden horns. And as soon as we are done with the first tribe, all the rest of the next 3 tribes will spawn. And as soon as you do 2 more tribes, that final 12 out of 12 scary tribe will be ready. So I'm scoping out where the angry tribes are, because the angry tribes will come and attack you, while the only like orange upset will come and raid you for food. I believe they happen around the same time, but it depends how angry they are, is the type of attack they will pull on you. And all of them only want to attack you. They all have an agreement to not attack each other. That epic was doing some kind of dance. Yeah, it's usually a epic will attack a rival tribe, and it kind of, I find it helps if you kind of look at the tribes. It's kind of like that trick I explained on the hard civilization. It kind of wakes up the other tribes, the other cities for events like that to occur. If you never look at them, the game kind of doesn't know how to interact off screen. So once you look at them, the stuff that's kind of scripted, I believe it is scripted, because I pretty much see it every time that an epic does attack another tribe. And so if you look at them early, that event is then happens quicker, and then that usually the tribe can fend off and kill the epic, or the epic leaves, and you want that epic gone, dead, or just at least walked away by the time you get there. You kind of saw in my other hard video that an epic did kind of come over to one of the tribes and mess with us, and the rival tribe would prioritize attacking the epic, defending their own stuff than listen to our traveling band, so we couldn't socialize with them. So the pink one is being attacked right now, so I'm going to go to the angry ones first. I'm going to go to the left, and then to the right. You got to try to also minimize the amount of walking that is going to occur. So hopefully pink can fend off the epic by the time we finish with cyan, and then move on to pink. And green should just be fine sitting there. So this guy was just gathering, so it's convenient to only do one at a time. So if you have only one rival tribe member, they can only ask for one instrument. See, another one came over, they might ask for two. Yeah, they asked for two. On hard, this doesn't quite work as well as easy and normal, because they want to ask for as many as possible. They want to ask for up to 3. That's why I brought 3 wooden horns and 3 maracas. Because if they ask for more than you can supply, like if you only bring 2 wooden horns and they ask for 3, you won't get nearly as much progress. So it's helpful in your favor if you try to find people by themselves, because they can only ask for 2 while you have 3, and that overpowers how much they want. Kind of like the idea of overpowering the socialization in creature stage. It gives you some helpful bonuses. So I'm checking, I always check for didgeridoos to make sure we unlock them, and we did not. So we are good to go to the next tribe, and the pink is still working on that epic, so I'm going to try, and usually it's 100% consistent if you send your tribal members to gift the home nest. And they just put it in the home basket for their food. They always pick it up, and then that makes them ambivalent to you, and then you can then do the performance. But I find it either inconsistent, or I think this guy is busy because he's holding food, so he can't hold another object. I should have maybe seen that coming. That since he's holding the food, he can't pick up our basket. So I have to actually bring out another basket to send to the home tribe. But I was a little worried about that epic. But the epic does seem to have moved away. So I'm going to send the epic, my tribal chieftain, to give the gift basket, which always works. And then send the rest of the band to go help pink. I'm going to try this guy again. He shouldn't be too busy, but I think I give up on that character. And I'm going to move on back to the nest, now to the tribe, now that I see the epic is kind of moved on. And I send another one of my members to go recover that gift basket, because that is worth 10 food and I don't want to lose that. Hopefully that all made sense. So now we're going to do the performance on the next one. Since that did kind of take a long time, we tried to mess with that other pink tribe member. Looks like green is trying to raid us, and another raid us for food, and they did go all the way to our nest, and you can see the crosshairs on our creature means they're fighting green, which I don't really want. I don't want them to be fighting. My character doesn't seem to be taking damage, so I'm not too worried. Now both of my creatures are fighting, but it shouldn't really matter unless they send a full-blown invasion on our tribe, which that should take too long for them to come over. Oh, looks like they did actually successfully raid our food. You heard the little notifier. But I'm not too worried, because I'm more worried about them attacking and our creatures fighting back than actually losing food, because food's recoverable, but relationships with green is harder to recover. So now that we have our third tribe, we see that looks like lavender or purple is up. That's the 12 out of 12. We're going to just kind of leave them be and mess with and kind of fix green. Looks like green tried to raid us twice, or a third time. I think I see 3 raid baskets there. I think yeah, actually, good job killing that guy, you guys. 3 gift baskets like I was trying to raid, because he was trying to raid us, and then he starts fighting, and then he drops the gift basket, and I think he must have just kept trying over and over to raid us. So I'm trying to recover all of our gift baskets. And before green's now going to make our way to our tribe, because I was kind of worried I was trying to fix the situation at home, and I should have been prioritizing gifting green first, because I knew that green should have died at our base, and then that should have been able to be recovered, all of those gift baskets. Waiting too long allows them to fight, and I want to make sure my tribal chieftain is out of the way. So it looks like we were able to gift basket green in time. If green did make it all the way back to our tribe, I would have totally let them hack and slash away at our instruments and our base before I would have like tried to attack them. Because once they start attacking, it's really hard to get them out of attacking mode and then try to get them back into instrumental mode. So just let them just take hits at your main hut. It takes way too long for them to take it down. Like you can, I think it has like 1,000 health. Like they won't take down 1,000 health in 3 minutes or more. Just make sure your characters are stay clear of green while they're attacking, and then you can, once the gift basket is ready to go, then you can start the socialization. But thankfully we got the gift basket in time, so we were able to hopefully get the 4th tribe on our side. Thankfully they're also only asking for 2 didgeridoos, because we only have 2. And 2 maracas, so we were able to get them. So now we just have the last tribe. And because of all of those raids and all of it, just kind of everything, threw everything out of sync, and we have really low on funds, so I'm sending the tribal chieftain to quickly collect some food really quick. I'm also putting on the social 5. That should help speed up the socialization meter a little faster, because I'm a little worried that I might not have enough instruments to satisfy Lavender, and with a social 5 that should help speed that up and guarantee, at least not guarantee, but at least make more likely that we'll actually make it in time. Now, I'm actually surprised these guys are starving, because I'm actually taking a bit longer than I want. They should be able to finish this stage before this happens, or you send them in to gather enough that they are fine. That they'll eat as they gather. But yeah, again, we're saving so much time off the old time that I'm not too worried about it. This is a plenty good time for normal. So, see, you can see where some optimizations may be. You can kind of see how much on-the-fly thinking is required in tribal stage, at least for this run. But of course, that could save lots of time, creature stage and tribal stage so far. But that's kind of the general idea, and if stuff goes wrong, you can always adapt to it. You just kind of know what to prioritize. So I'm kind of scrambling all my people to try to gather as quickly as possible, because I need 10 for the gift basket to give to Lavender, because they will definitely be upset with us. And we can't socialize until they're at least ambivalent. So I'm trying to, it takes a little bit of micromanaging to get our tribal characters into position so they can place down the food, because the food has to be in our collection to be used by other characters. Even though they can teleport it out from nowhere, they must have to teleport it from the main food basket. So unfortunately I'm not going to be able to get that gift basket, but it shouldn't matter. I did get 1 more baby. I want 3 of each. They can ask for 4 of each from that last tribe, but I'm feeling like I've lost enough time. I'm just gonna go risk it and go for it. So I always like sending the chieftain alone. If the whole band is in gift mode, then they can't be attacked. If the song is kind of around them, they're immune from being attacked. But now that the rest of the band was not part of the gift basket, I want to make sure they hang back, because they can totally be attacked. And if they're engaged in the combat, it's really hard to get them out of combat again and start the socialization sequence. So I was kind of lucky here that people were gathering fish nearby, so that did separate them. You always look for tribal members to be separated. So that way they can only ask for at least 3. And we have 3 instruments of each. If it was with the whole tribe, they can ask for 4. And that might be harder to make it all the way. Since we always satisfy 3, we are easily able to go up to blue and into green and finish the stage. As soon as the progress bar is all the way, just click off anywhere to make them move out of the way, and then reselect them. Unless, if you wait for the whole sequence, they show up a 10 out of 10, they say, "Nice job, thanks for performing for us," and then that takes forever. So just click off, start again. And that should be the end of tribal stage. Okay, 34 minutes, not too bad. It's gonna pick any old town hall, doesn't matter, just Pick the first one. Another cutscene. So you're going to pick the fastest part and copy it 6 times. This way we'll have 45 vehicle speed. I just want to make sure to double check the vehicle speed. I do a lot of individual level speedruns, but full game speedruns I don't do too often. So that little in between level section I don't do very often. So I'm just double checking to make sure it's going smoothly. But now we're into civilization stage. Definitely much more fun to me than the other stages that we've done so far. We're going to load up. We're not going to create any more custom vehicles. We're just going to use the fastest and the strongest Maxis creatures, or Maxis vehicles. So use the fastest and the most powerful boats, and we'll use the most powerful tanks since we made the most speedy tank. Sometimes they give tanks, sometimes they give money. Once you run into a tribe. But we're going to try to capture every land spice geyser. It looks like they might... Oh, we somehow beat them. Okay. We were way further away than they were, but looks like we got that spice geyser. I'm not complaining. And so we got... Yep, looks like we're getting that 6th one as well, and we're sending the boat around to collect as many water geysers as possible, to collect as much money. That's why I really like this planet. It has 6 land, and we can get 2 more water, or we can get, I'm sending them to another one, so we can get up to 9, maybe 10 spice geysers. That's like, I think this is the most in your current area of all the planets. There's 15 different planets. There's a few, like 6 or 7 planets that have 6 spice geysers on the home continent, but this one also has 5 spice geysers around the home continent, which together being 11 is the most of all the planets. And this also has that very convenient creature stage migration that ends you up on the coastline, has the most spice geysers. Yeah, this planet's pretty good. This is, at least between the current speedrun route, current agreed upon with all the speedrunners, we think this is at least the current fastest planet. So we're just kind of moving on, rolling thunder, just taking down all the other cities. On hard, we saw that there's your big city, so there's big and small cities. There's your big city, and on hard there were 2 rival large cities. But on normal and easy, there's your big city, one rival big city, and 2 small cities. So we're going to do the big city last. We're going to do the small cities first, because they should be super weak and easy to take down with only 4 or 5 tanks. And you get more tanks per city you capture. Like, you have a maximum amount of tanks you can have. Now, I'm also used to playing on easy, so I'm not expecting them to attack me. So I'm going to just place down an entertainment just to make sure that they don't take down my city before I take down their city, because that would be a big bummer, having to go back and recapture it. And there's no way their 2 tanks are going to beat us. But I was a little worried if there was no buildings in our city that they would take us down first. So taking down the home continent was not too bad. We're going to send 2 squads of boats. Sometimes they can get stuck in this particular area, so you kind of watch them, make sure they can actually get out. Sometimes they just don't even move on. These guys should be going to yellow. We sent the one that was collecting all the spice geysers earlier. It's already waiting at yellow, so we sent 5 at this one, and we'll have a total of 5 waiting for us once everyone gets to yellow. So there's the other boat from earlier. So we didn't forget about that boat we made. So this way we have two squads of boats attacking 2 different continents. So we can then, once we're on the ground in those continents, it's much easier to then build tanks because they're cheaper, and then you can rolling thunder your way through those continents. So hopefully I usually do 4 boats with full religious power to take down a city, but on normal I was feeling a little worried, so let's go for 5. Because it takes a little bit more power to take one down. So this one should be done pretty soon. There it is. So we're going tanks going for speed. Go back to the one we made. Yeah, 5, 6, 7. Any amount would do. Now that we have lots of money, and we're still waiting on these guys, we can splurge and go for 7 tanks to make sure we take down this next city. Now that they've arrived, we're going for the most powerful tank. At least the most powerful tank that Maxis has. I think it's faster just to go for the fastest pre-made tank, rather than create your own. You have to load up the editor, you have to make it, and it's maybe 5% increase. So just go for the best. Best Maxis got. Now then we're down to 3 from 5, so they're taking their sweet time. These tanks have already captured the next city, so they're well on their way. Doing a very good job. I kind of would have liked both tank squads to work together. There we go. Because now that they're both going to be fast. So we're sending the fast tanks to the next city. We're sending fast boats to that city as well. And now while those fast tanks are going to their final destination, it's time so now we can also send these fast tanks at the same time. Because once you switch the tanks, all of them switch to the most powerful tank. So you gotta make sure they're moving them all kind of together. You can't have some tanks be different than other tanks. So you want to try to move them all at this. You want to make sure you move all the tanks at the same time, and you want to make sure all the tanks are actively attacking at the same time. Because you don't want, while one set of tanks are attacking a city, they're going to be slower. So another group of tanks would be very slowly moving on to the next one. Or when you're trying to move a tank, and then you have the fast but weak tanks attacking a city, they won't be able to attack very quickly. Hopefully that makes sense. So we are either waiting for the surrender, or we're waiting for them to capture. There we go. There's a surrender. And now we can move on to space stage. Very important at this cutscene, only hit escape one time. It will skip, just wait for it. Sometimes I just spam escape because it doesn't look like it's skipping, and I get a weird soft lock where that editor is just black, it's just blank. And you can't do anything, so then your whole run's over. So I found if you just hit escape one time during that cutscene, just be patient and wait for it to skip, it'll skip eventually. Then it won't soft lock you. So we're on the space, we're almost done. We're going to ignore the tutorial mission, just say, never mind, I don't want to do that. Of course, spam clicking is faster than holding it on that ship as well. So let's look at our progress for this run. We were omnivore out of cell, so that's blue. We were aggressive out of creature, that's red. And we were green out of tribal stage and civilization stage. So it's not like we're going for the fanatical frenzy ability. We were just going for the fastest way to complete each individual stage, because we won't need any kind of ability out of those from space stage from those abilities. We won't need any consequence traits. We can finish space stage in about 5 minutes, just like on our own. Sometimes it's easier to be, if you were aggressive or carnivore out of cell, you would be red, red, green, green, which will give you the zealot, which would then give you the fanatical frenzy, which could give you lots of money. That was kind of the old way of doing it, but we don't quite need to get that much money to complete space stage anymore. So we're going to farm for frequent flyer 2. In space stage, it's exactly the same on all difficulties. That's why there's no difficulties being tracked on the leaderboard for Speedrun.com. It's just New Game and New Game Plus. The only difference in the difficulty is like the amount of spaceship health you have, and sometimes the amount of spice is sold for. But other than that, there's not like enough change in space to warrant a bunch of difficulties, so they're basically the same. So we're going to collect our rare. Also, it doesn't really matter about the spice, is because in a full game, you assume we only have one spice, because we don't hang out at our home base long enough for them to generate spice. If you started space stage from the main menu, like an individual level, you will guaranteed get 10. I think it just starts you out with 10, because it's generous. But at least for a full game, you don't get that much spice, so even that part of the difficulty difference doesn't even really apply. So you're going to go for rare relics. Gonna collect one of those. That location, at least for this galaxy, always has a rare relic, and it's in that system. The rare relic itself is randomized, but we always know that there will be a rare in that location. So at the first one we asked for a trade route, we are also going to ask for a trade route at this spot as well. That gives us the ability to buy energy packs. Thankfully that one spice was sold for a lot, so I said why not, let's sell that for some extra money. Sold the rare. 45,000 is the minimum we can sell a rare for and still make it to the center of the galaxy. If we only got a rare that sold for 22,500, which is the minimum that those could sell for, we would have to collect another rare, which would take about another 20 seconds to do. So thankfully we got one that was satisfactory for us to make to the center. And then also that spice was also pretty helpful. Just make sure that should give us maybe 1 or 2 extra energy packs, but not totally necessary. But yeah, when you're playing and in the moment, you want all the energy packs you can get. So we're going to buy energy packs, and we're going to say goodbye and bring them up. And we've got the Traveler 1 badge that refreshes the local planet's inventory. So we can buy energy packs again, because the game wants you to be able to buy whatever you just unlock, so it unlocks everything. Very nice for us, so we don't have to go to another empire to buy more energy packs, saving some more time. This is all just kind of general routing. Hopefully it makes Space Stage feel a little less intimidating, because there's kind of a lot to remember and a lot of sequence to do, but generally Space Stage it's pretty nice and it's very consistent. It's like the least RNG. Maybe there's only RNG is how much spice and rares trade for, and there's really no RNG, and there's like no RNG in the driving. Like the Groks, they're too slow, they can't get you. Like as long as you just keep moving, they can't hit you. So they only try to track you from their bubble. So once you go by their bubble, they go back home, and then a new set of Grok ships try to attack you, and then you go by them, and then they go back home. So it's not like the same Grok ships are ever the ones chasing you. So they can't get you, because they never chase you for long enough. And you just keep clicking. See, every jump is accounted for, every payment is thought of. So hopefully that makes Space Stage at least make a little bit more sense. And there it is, center of the galaxy. Time ends as soon as the cutscene begins, and that will finish the full game on normal. 45, 46. Pretty good time for normal. I like to go through, I refreshed the hard time, got a pretty good improvement. And now normal, it's got its fair share of time, its fair shake, and got a pretty good time. Good improvement over the previous time. Hopefully I got some more speedruns coming. Hopefully you enjoyed this speedrun as well. Hopefully the commentary stayed interesting. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Going for more casual today. Going for, hopefully the audio balancing was good. Any constructive criticism you got? I want to keep doing this, and I want to make these videos as interesting and as helpful and as good as I can. So anything you got, I'd take it. Alright, that's it for me. I've been King Valence. Thank you so much for watching.
It is now time for you to join us. Join us. No, just kidding. It's not scary. Indeed, the times they are good. Really good. Some of you may ask, who is this mysterious voice who knows so much and possesses such great powers? I'm glad you asked.
Opportunity on one of our largest stars, and a rare planet in its orbit. If you're in the neighborhood, we'd love to have you by for a free breakfast and short presentation. Just look for the